and thank you for coming. I usually film a theme every year in different cities. Last year, because of COVID, I was stuck in my house. Apart from that, the year before that, we filmed in Lisbon. And when we kick off a tour, after we film this, we send it to my publicist, and then we kick off a tour. For me, it's honestly a great honor to be in this city, the city I truly love and the people I've actually met, and to present to you something that I've been doing for years, for the past 25 years. I have worked, I'm going to talk a bit less about myself and more about the presentation. I have worked in this industry, in this discipline. I've worked across the globe in many different countries on brand. It's a discipline that I'm very passionate about. I come from corporate America for 10 years, from young executive to strategies and so forth. I've authored, for those who don't know me, I'm a brand consultant, author of 3 books. My books are registered in the Library of Congress, and I'm also a speaker. I think I enjoy speaking a lot more than working. I do, very much so. It's far more relaxing. Last week I was speaking in Egypt next to the pyramids. I was blown. Absolutely. I feel like the pharaohs are coming in front. So I want to take you to something that is very essential, especially that if you're in business, if you're in the fashion business, if you're in architecture, whatever business you do, the most important asset you would ever own is the brand, is the intellectual property. Everything else you can replace. You can replace your desk, you can replace your manufacturing machines, you can replace your employees also. They can quit on you and leave. But the only thing that will remain with you is the brand. And often when we speak about brand, we have this understanding that it's just a logo. And you expect this logo, whatever color, font, and size it is, to make the most miracle for you. So you go and spend so much money in advertising on billboards, and then you sit back and you say, hey, we spent about $2 to $3 million. How come our sales just grew by 2% to 3%? Would that be a brand problem? Absolutely not. Would that be a brand problem? Absolutely not. It is a mindset problem. It's a thinking problem, because we refuse to understand the essence of brand, but we're so stuck with the top layer, which is the logo, the aesthetic, the fashion, the picture, how you even on your personal brand, how your brand looks on Instagram. You care so much, look how design the pages, and then you say, okay, what's the message I'm sending? So what I'm trying to tell you here is this: I'm going to take you on a different journey. Something that I have created over the years, consulting L'Oreal, TAP Portugal, and so forth. I've worked across this industry, from retail, fashion, and so forth. So what I focus on is called the science of brand. Something that impacts, ching ching, making money, not just logos. So we're on the same track here. So I call it the science of brand. But before we go and talk about all the logos, Apple and Ralph Lauren and Hermes and so forth, let me bring you to an understanding of what a brand is, because I think most of you, when I see a brand, what comes to mind is logo, right? A lot of you is logo, design and so forth, right? When I see a brand. The visual side, which is about 10% of the whole entire journey. So what I want to bring is the deeper side of all this to you. And if I fail at the end of all this, the door is wide open, you can dig, all of you get on me and throw me out. I'll accept that. But I'll bring that understanding. So first, what is a brand? Brand is our sets of values, distinctive values, with a certain idea that you put in your stakeholders, your customers, your investors, your employees, because they're ambassadors. It could be your CEO, it could be your supplier, it could be your government, it could be your president. It's called stakeholder map. So whenever you work on a brand, the first thing that you need is your business strategy. So it makes business logic. So do you have a vision? No, I don't have a vision. Do you have a mission? No, I don't have a mission. Do you have a culture? No, I don't have a culture. So what are you working on? You cannot work on a brand. You have a logo at the end of the day. So you need to work on that vision, mission, and so forth. This is what we call the science of brand. Brands have attributes. They're just like everyone else of us here. They live like humans. They live in the minds of everyone. Every time you meet somebody, if it's your friend, family, and so forth, they impact your lives. You feel emotional about them. If the brand is truly self to its roots, it would do the same thing to you. So you become loyal. So the essence of the brand and the core of the brand is created from the values. And these values that create the core deliver into something we call the promise. Example, as a consultant now, when you see my logo or my brand, you see unconventional. So I promise that everything that I do is out of the box, because that's the line of experience I'm delivering for you. But that's the only thing I do. So what happens if a client comes up to me and says, listen, we work in coffee. Yes. So coffee is coffee, sugar is sugar. My job would be to make that coffee completely out of the box experience, even more than Starbucks, to add the value and to have that equity. Equity means whatever you do to that brand, you build it, is the number of equal of money. Like how much does Apple cost today? How much does Google cost today? That's what we call equity. So we have 45 minutes. I'll take you to this beautiful journey. Then we're going to start with my first brand that I like. So let me introduce you to the owner of this place, Maribel. She works with me. So whenever you see this thing right here in front of you, what do you visualize?
Apple.
The white. Simplicity.
Simplicity, probably your cell phone, your Mac, and so forth, right? But before Apple ever existed, if you see this thing, whatever it is, what would you call it? The fruit. So Apple was able to create something that looks like a commodity to something that is experimental, for an experience. So whenever I say Apple to you, chances are extremely high that you will never think of the fruit, but you would think of the experience that all of you did. How many of you here have iPhones? Raise your hands up. Pretty much everyone. Steve Jobs did a great job with you guys. So there's a transition between the fruit itself and Apple, the experience. The second question is, when we look at Apple, and I tell you, what business is Apple in? Most likely you're going to tell me cell phones, Mac, hardware, computers, iOS, and so forth, right? These are a lot of words, but Apple is not in that business. In fact, Apple is not in the hardware business or software business. Sounds a little crazy, right? But that's the fact. Apple is in the innovation business. Apple is in the world where they want to impact your lives and change it completely. So here's the value of the brand that drives into you, that makes it more memorable. The simplicity of the cell phone when you go through the screen and touch and go for it. Have you ever seen somebody with a Mac? Plenty. And they're all designers, right? Look at this. This is an amazing stuff. I did this testing in New York once. So we had a guy with a Mac, the guy with an HP. And there were people lined up. The guy with the Mac, he's not a graphic designer. But he's sitting, and there's that Mac up. And the guy with the HP is a graphic designer. So we asked the audience and said, which of these two you think will deliver for you? A, the best design. B, who's the graphic designer? 99.9% voted that the guy sitting on the Mac is a genius designer, and he's a designer. But in fact, he's a writer. But what built that perception? What built that power? That is the science of brand. If it was just this thing, you would never have that visual frame in your mind. You will never buy into it. So even if you were an average graphic designer and you're sitting in a Mac and you charge 10 lira, if you go and say, I will charge you 1,000 lira, they'll buy it. So Apple contributes about 85% to your skills. Can HP do that? Can IBM do that? Absolutely not. And why is that? That's the biggest question. Because Apple is a digital lifestyle. It is a digital lifestyle. When somebody sits over dinner, what are the chances that you will take your iPhone 13, 14 and put it on the table? 99.7. What are the chances that you will take your Samsung out of your pocket and put it on the table? Most likely not. Right? What are the chances that you sit in an iPad in a cafe, order your coffee, and make sure the whole world sees you're sitting on an iPad that says Apple logo on it? Most likely high. What are the chances you're sitting on a Mac and working and you're giving everybody a smirk? Very high. But why is the question? Is it just because it's brand? No. It's because it changed your life through values. Remember, values. Without values, brands mean nothing. It transformed how you do things. When was the last time you picked up a pen and you started writing and you couldn't write? And you're sort of writing so scribbles, you can't even read it. Have you ever thought that since the iPad came in, the cell phone came in, all this has been changed? All this is gone? That's the power of the value. So when you want to work on a brand, you work on a value. Apple succeeded because the brand is designed to a point. Not just the art side, also the science side. In the art side, they said, let's go basic. In the science side, they said, simplicity. What happened to the color of white? We know that white has always resembled to hospitals and so forth, right? Colors are divided in brand into four groups: alpha, social, evolution, society. White used to be a society color, but with the power of this brand, white that was a lower price or a medium price transformed to become one of the most expensive price. So who influenced white to move from society to alpha color? Alpha means expensive color plus high. The color by itself, by magic? Absolutely not. Who did it? Apple. The power of the brand. Next. So when you see this brand, what do you see? What is this? Just do it. There you go. But what's the name of this? What is the name of this thing? Huh? It's a swoosh. But most of you here don't even have a swoosh in your mind. All of you have Nike in your mind. Have you ever asked how did this brand transcend from something, an idea, to your mind and values? It's because you've experienced it. You lived that experience. Nike is always about two things: celebrating humanity and performance. Nike gave us the attitude as a brand. Whenever we wear a Nike, chances are very high that we will be successful in money or whatever we do. And why is that? Because Nike enjoyed celebrating athletes, Air Jordan, Cristiano Ronaldo, so forth. So we inspired to be them. But if the brand was just about this logo, about this design, what are the chances that Nike would be successful? Actually not. If you're a fashion designer today, and you have a beautiful logo and a beautiful art, what are the chances you will succeed in this market? It's very difficult. You're going to be commoditized. Some people will tell you you need to stand out. You need to be different. Being different is very simple. But applying the whole experience, the science of what to build a brand and develop a brand and build a brand, that is what makes you stand out. Because you become more than an idea, you become a purpose. Apple is a purpose. Nike is a purpose. Now the next one here, I'm sure 100% all of you cannot live without this one, right? What are the chances that you can live without this? Slim. And it does not have to spell itself to a name. You all know what it is. It doesn't have to write at the bottom, Google. You all know it's Google. The moment I introduce myself, what are the chances you go and Google me? Very high, right? Absolutely. Second, you're going to go Facebook, Instagram, whatever is more relevant to you guys. But here's the thing, and here's the most powerful thing. The chance that you can meet somebody, million people within a second is impossible. Absolutely impossible. So if you sit and introduce yourself here, most likely, or the whole neighborhood, most likely will take you about 5 days. But if the whole neighborhood knows your name,